we're at Sandy Island involved with a program to reinstate some of the moorings in Sandy Island and install some new systems. So the main reason we have moorings, there are three main reasons you would have moorings in a certain area or certain bay. And the first reason, of course, is for environmental purposes. You want to protect the environment. You don't want anchors and long anchor chains dragging all about on the seabed and messing up the reef and the environment and creating havoc there. So you have moorings which have a way lower impact on the marine environment. So that's the first main reason, is environmental protection. The second reason, of course, is to control and have some sort of regulation on the number of vessels in a certain area, which is also relates to environmental protection. You don't want to overstress an area. So by having moorings strategically placed, you can control the movement of vessels in and out and the numbers of vessels in and out of an area. And then the third and least important reason you would put moorings in a place like this is, of course, the revenue generation. The idea is that most of that revenue leaps back into the protection, so funding patrols, funding the maintenance of the actual moorings themselves, so that money should jump straight back into the actual protection of the area.
An evaluation of the mooring field, because at the time we had grave concerns as to the conditions of the moorings. There had been at least 2 failures of the moorings while yachts were attached, and obviously this can cause tremendous damage to the boat because it can happen in the middle of the night when clients are asleep on the boat. From 2011 to 2014, there was a gradual degradation in the quality of the moorings, to a point where at least a year and a half ago we told our clients that they should not pick up any moorings at Sandy Island due to the unknown condition of the mooring and the potential for failure.
A question that's been, or challenge that's been made to me a number of times, is that the marine protected area here only really benefits the dive organisations. And one of the counters that I've put to that many times is that divers would come to this island and would dive here regardless of whether there was a marine protected here or not. For the simple reason being that the diving that we have here is very good compared to the diving either elsewhere in the Caribbean region or where the majority of our diving guests come from. And so whether there was an effective marine park or not, the reefs would still be here, the fish would still be here, and people would still want to dive. It's also, the majority of our divers are becoming much more environmentally and ecologically aware. And with that, they're looking for local communities and local governments and local businesses to be actively involved in conservation activity and improving and protecting their local environments.
These moorings were installed about 5.5 years ago initially, and there were a lot of challenges and deficiencies with the original installations. So they didn't last very long, so we were asked to come in and reinstate the original systems, or some of them, and then to put some new ones in the same area, and a few new areas that were seen to be potentially good locations for yachts and boats to be able to anchor. They were identified as prime locations that weren't used before.
I'm very grateful that the mooring field has been re-established. It's the #1 requirement for yacht visitors in the location to try to preserve the seabed and to re-establish a system of collecting mooring fees, which would then help to finance the preservation of the marine park.
One of the concerns or complaints of the fishers is that the restriction on anchoring in the area sort of keeps the visitors from coming ashore and from supporting the local economy, the local businesses, from enjoying the local culture and other activities. So one of the things that we've promised is that we are going to change that. We are going to do the moorings in the near shore so that they can have persons come ashore, have yachts come ashore, and support the businesses along the Leicester Beach.
The MPA is and could be a good thing. Yeah? Like we say for the tourism sector, well, even when we first began, we also look at nursery for fish and so on and so on. Well, in the last couple of years since it's been implemented, we have a lot of good stories, and we have a few little harsh ones. Some of the fishermen talk some certain areas is too restricted, because of the reasons, depends on the size of their boats. And
MPAs are really about people and the needs of people. We protect and we manage for people, try to meet their needs. Although we've done some things in the recent past with the Sea Fish project, we've given them radio and GPS so that they could go further. As a ministry, we've given them some ropes so that they could set pots in deeper waters and so forth, but still they figure that they have not been sufficiently involved in the process. And to some extent, they're pretty much correct.
The organization, Sandy Island Oyster Bed MPA, and the ministry having obtained a bank account that's dedicated for the deposit of fees and other user fees, actually is a foundation for financial sustainability here in the park and in the MPA in Sandy Island Oyster Bed.
Obviously, before we come and do any of the installations, one of the vital components is training. So you have the local MPA wardens, and if they don't understand the components of the moorings, if they don't understand why the moorings are here, if they don't understand the benefits, and of course, very importantly, if they don't understand how to maintain those moorings so that they last as long as they potentially can, and that they're actually safe to moor on, and they don't pose a danger to the vessels on them, then there's a big problem. So step number one is basically training the wardens on how to do proper internationally recognized splicing, learning about the different components and how to actually make up a mooring from scratch, a proper, safe mooring. First couple of days we're training the wardens and basically getting them to a level where they can splice properly, where they can understand and how the moorings work, and basically get them to the level where they don't need any exterior help, and when they see there are problems, they can identify those problems in the moorings and fix them straight away.
Get a lot of young people and women and other people involved, so they would have more understanding, so we could then distribute some little action where they could get a part, like, of a daily making the day.
We're talking about benefits for people. When we talk about conservation, we're talking about people. We're talking about what incentive is there for the community to engage in conservation. After all, if we're talking about conserving and someone is hungry and they can't earn a living, it'll be very difficult for you to convince them.
Over the last 6 months or so, there's been a significant change in strategy and a significant change in management policy with regards to the park, where the stakeholders involved and engaged in the management and in the maintenance have changed, and the numbers have become much smaller and tighter, and it's been more focused on delivering activities. There's also a lot more emphasis on creating social media, on creating information about what's going on and why people should want to come to CARIBSAVE to see the Sandy Island Oyster Bed Marine Protected Area. The fish biomass, the fish biodiversity, the reef quality we've got here is incredible, particularly when you compare it to other areas up and down the island chain. And that's a testimony to the fact that the park has had a very positive impact. It's just our job now to make sure that we continue to push that forward.